my passing from it is also good for you.
Wallahi.
The Anwar, the Prophet says, "Ana al-Qasim, wallahu al-Mu'ti."
Yeah.
That I am the one who dispenses, and Allah is the giver. So Allah gives, and the Prophet dispenses. Subhanallah. And in our cultures, in our historic cultures that we're entrenched and saturated bi mahabbati Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, you will find in their language representations of what Sidi Mu'tasim was just indicating. In Egyptians, they very common on their tongues. Bis-salah nabi tufraq. Bis-salah nabi tufraq. By sending salawat, you have faraj, you have relief, you have salvation. You're taken care of. Bis-salah nabi. And the Prophet ﷺ said, the one who makes all of their dua, as-salah ala nabi, idhan tukfa hammuk. Your humum are taken care of. And if for those of you who are familiar with the famous poem of Imam al-Busiri, Burdah al-Imam al-Busiri, Imam al-Busiri, he was a poet for the viziers and for the princes and for the people of the political elite of his time, because that's what poets did. Poets, they were their main source of income was to be able to interface with the political elite of the time, and then get some gifts. That's what they would gift according to the poems. But Imam al-Busiri, he went through a remarkable journey in his life, where when he then had this paralysis, and he had this sidq, and this is what I wanted to refer to when you spoke earlier about having not gone to Medina, and what does one do? You have to have sidq. You have to be so sincere and honest in your tawajjuh, in your disposition towards this sacred reality. So he had sidq, and he sat down and he sincerely wrote this poem in the praise of Al-Habib sallallahu alayhi wasallam, with the intention of faraj and shifa and healing and having the hardships removed, right? And that's why it's called al-Burdah wal-Bur'ah. Al-Bur'ah means huwa sara mubarra. He was healed, and Prophet ﷺ healed him by placing the cloak, his cloak sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the dream over the shoulders of Imam al-Busiri. So don't ever underestimate. And those who deprive themselves, and I want to say this from a place of mahabba, wallahi, there are those in our community who have deprived themselves from falling in love with the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam because of faulty conceptions of narratives around what it means to love the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and what it means to care for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and what it means to seek the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is a sacred reality in our tradition. It's a matter of iman. You can't be a complete believer if you don't love the Prophet more than you love yourself, your children, anything in that regard. Don't deprive yourself. Subhanallah, it's almost as if there are those, you see this movement today, of those who want to remove the sunnah. They say, okay, we only stick to the Quran, no sunnah. But there's also factions that seek to make it where in one's theology, it's Allah,
remove the messenger of God, yeah.
And it's done in a way that's so short-sighted and thoughtlessly. It's just done with this paranoia almost around moving him. And our sacred tradition with the Quran, the Sunnah Sahih of the Prophet ﷺ, replete with ayat, with hadith, with athar that indicate how absolutely integral it is in one's life to be immersed in the ocean of beauty that is Al-Habib sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I pray that Allah gives us all tawfiq